U.S. President Donald Trump is urging Iranians to oust their government, saying help is on the way. He says U.S. allies should get out of Iran.
And he wants to intervene over a deadly crackdown on protesters, reportedly weighing military options and others, such as cyber attacks. And his latest message coming a day after slapping a 25% tariff on Iran's trading partners.
To all Iranian patriots, keep protesting. Take over your institutions if possible, and save the name of the killers and the abusers that are abusing you. You're being very badly abused. If the numbers are right now, I hear 5 different sets of numbers. I hear numbers, look, 1 death is too much. But I hear much lower numbers, and then I hear much higher numbers. But I say save their names because they'll pay a very big price. Then I've canceled all meetings with the Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. And all I say to them is help is on its way.
President Trump told U.S. media CBS that there will be very strong action if Iran starts hanging protesters. This is 26-year-old Irfan Soltani, the first protester expected to be hanged today for the capital offense of waging war against God.
Well, Iran is doubling down. Its security chief responded to Mr. Trump's rallying call for protesters, labeling the U.S. and Israel as the main killers of Iranians. Meantime, the foreign minister says Tehran is ready for any outcome.
ما برای هر عملی آمادگی داریم. اگه میخوان که برخورد نظامی رو که یک بار امتحان کردند و نتیجه‌ای نگرفتند، یک بار دیگه امتحان بکنن، ما آماده ایم. حتی از جنگ قبلی آماده تریم.
Tensions are escalating as the death toll rises sharply. An Iranian official putting it at 2,000, the first such disclosure by authorities. Protests erupted late last month over soaring inflation and have since spread nationwide, turning into anti-government rallies. An internet blackout remains mostly in place for security. And to circumvent it, Elon Musk's Starlink is offering free satellite services, but it is facing jamming by authorities. And one expert that we spoke with earlier on Asia First outlined why the Iranian regime may survive these protests. Nader Hashemi is Associate Professor of Middle East and Islamic Politics at Georgetown University. He also weighed in on why President Trump's imposition of a 25% tariff on Iran's trading partners could have little impact.
It's very difficult to organize a serious, sustained, and credible opposition to an authoritarian regime when people are starving, living in poverty because of sanctions. And that's exactly the result that we've seen in Iran that sparked this protest movement. It was effectively the collapse of the currency, massive inflation, and no sense that things are going to get better. And so these protests are spontaneous. They're rooted in raw anger and a desire for systemic political change in Iran, but it doesn't really amount to a serious and sustained indigenous organic plan for democracy that can replace the current authoritarian regime with a democracy. That requires a sizable middle class that can at least not worry about day-to-day survival. And with these types of economic sanctions that have been placed on Iran and promises of more sanctions on Iran, that just effectively translates into more mass poverty for the average citizen, while the ruling elites are not really affected by it. So I think this entire policy of broad-based economic sanctions undermines the struggle for democracy in Iran. I am in favor of targeted and specific sanctions that go after the senior regime officials that have blood on their hands. I think that is helpful. But, more broad-based economic sanctions that produce mass misery for the average citizen actually helps the regime and doesn't help the prospects for political change in Iran today.
Professor, the German chancellor has been bold enough to say this regime is on its last days. But over the past 17 years, we've seen the possibility of that. But the Iranian state always came back, managed to crush the protests. Do you get a sense the time is now for a revolutionary change in Iran?
I don't. The regime is obviously much weaker than it ever has been. These are tough days for the Islamic Republic, but I don't see a collapse imminent. I think that's wishful thinking. And you can just sort of look at sort of key indicators. anyone who studies, authoritarianism and authoritarian resilience focuses on key categories such as the unity of the ruling elites. We haven't seen any major fractures or breakaways from, the ruling elites in Iran over this crisis. The second category is loyalty of the security forces. There's no indication that security forces, particularly the Revolutionary Guard Corps, have broken with the regime. And finally, the question of an organized and sustained and credible opposition that can provide an alternative. That doesn't exist. The Crown Prince of Iran likes to think he's the opposition to the regime, but I think his influence and impact in Iran is greatly exaggerated. A lot of his ability to galvanize global media attention is a function of the huge resources that he has at his disposal, and he's the only one who's at least vocally condemning the regime in Iran. But I don't think he's a credible opposition figure. So when you put all those three factors together, it suggests that the Islamic Republic of Iran is still very much alive. It's much weaker. Its support base has shrunk. But as we saw today, the regime is still able to mobilize mass protests during the day among its own supporters. So, all of this talk from the German chancellor that, we're about to witness the end of the Islamic Republic in the next day or weeks is, I think, a gross exaggeration.